about 30 seconds from being 10 p.m. Hey, and we told you we had a special guest, UFC Hall of Famer. He has the moniker of the world's most dangerous man. Welcome inside the Hall of Fame, Ken Shamrock. Ken, what's going on, man?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Hey, man, we're just having fun, man. We've been laughing for this last hour, just kicking it, and that's what we do, man, in the Hall of Fame. If you ain't laughing, man, something wrong. You're getting older, faster and quicker if you ain't laughing, you know. So I try to make sure I keep a lot of laughter in my life. What about you, man? What you up to these days?
Well, first of all, I'm laughing. I love laughing. What I like laughing at most is being able to go in and get in the ring and wrestle. So I'm enjoying life. Get to go in there and do what I love doing and enjoy life, man. So just got back from Australia. Had a great match with Dan Severn, man. Put on a 40-minute wrestling match, one end to the other. It was a great opportunity, great time. And now we've got involved with Impact Wrestling, where got some little jawing back and forth between me and Brian Cage, a little from champion to champion, and then I get this other punk that chimed in. He calls himself Moose.
Oh yeah,
started laying in on me
a
little bit,
he's
so
a
I
big guy.
decided to throw a little bit back on him. And next thing you know, his boss has invited me down there to go ahead and stand in front of him and shut him up. So I'll be there on the 5th and 6th in Vegas. I will be standing in front of him, and I promise you, if he has the same kind of attitude that he's had with the social media stuff, I'm gonna put him asleep.
Man, that's my thing, man. Ken, what motivates you, man? You was away from pro wrestling for a while. 2018, you came back, did some stuff over in Australia, and now you're doing some stuff with Impact. Me, we're around the same age, mid-50s. What motivates you to still want to go out and compete?
I wake up every morning, and I've lived my life this way. I challenge myself to be better each and every day, not just as an athlete, but as a person. So I try to make sure that I correct the mistakes. I try to correct the things that I've done wrong and try to be better each and every day. And it's the same thing with my physical fitness. I try to be better each and every day. I train, I work out, I eat right, I get my sleep, I don't go to places I don't belong, and I keep myself healthy so that when I have the opportunity to challenge myself in the ring, pro wrestling, that I'm in the best shape, that I put on the best performance, and that I don't embarrass myself or my fans.
That's the one thing I can respect you for is being that guy, just like you just said. I remember like way back in the day, you being over in Japan and doing that stuff over there. Only thing we heard about Ken Shamrock was you going out and fighting, you going out and getting the work done in the ring. We never heard any outside scandals or anything like that. Ken Shamrock was in the bar drunk, and doing this and having, you was always professional about your work. How fun, man. Just give me a little bit of an insight. How fun was that ride back there with Gracie, Severin, Chemo? How awesome was that?
It was exciting because, you got to get in the ring against some of the best fighters in the world, and you were considered one of those guys. And so to have that, man, I appreciated that, but I also knew it came with a price, and that price was giving up on going out and having fun with your friends, hanging out with your girlfriend or your wife, going traveling and going and doing those things. It came at a cost, and I was willing, and my family was willing to accept that cost because we knew down the road it would pay off for us to be able to have a better life as we got older. So, it was fun. It was a great time. It was a great ride, but also there was a lot of sacrifices that we had to make along the way. But now as I sit here today with my wife and my kids, my family, they would tell you it was worth it because the work that we put in there and the sacrifices that we made then made us a better family and a stronger family now.
You think what actually did all of those times in all those cities, in all those countries, you're getting ready to go into those fights. You're telling me you were focused on the job and the task at hand. Everything else that was going on around you, it was obsolete. You was just focused on the fight. And the thing is, that's why a lot of guys lose focus along the way. They lose, themselves in the lights, in the glitz and glamour. That's why I asked you that question. Were you that focused back then?
I was, I mean, I literally knew that I wanted to be the best in the world. I didn't want people to forget me. When I stepped into the ring, I wanted the fans to remember me. And the only way that would do that is when I went in there, that I was able to perform at such a high level that they could not get me out of their minds, and that they fell in love with me because of the work effort and the determination I had going into the ring. And I knew that early on, that the only way I could do that was to make sure that I was the best shape and that I prepared the best and that I was second to nobody when it came to getting ready for a fight. And so it showed in my fights when I went and fought, my excitement, my adrenaline, my never give up attitude. And so I put that work in. Not to say is that, after I got to the top that I didn't slip a little bit and go out and have some fun, but I also knew there was a line that was drawn in the sand that I didn't cross. And I knew where that line was.
Hey man, you got to be able to enjoy the fruits of the labor a little bit. You know what I mean? Every time, every champion get to that point. I look at John Jones. And people say, "Man, this guy, this, that, whatnot, and the other." And it's hard to be a saint all the time. It's hard to try to please everybody all the time and not let your hair down and not just unplug. I wouldn't beat myself up over that or anything. Let's get back to now though. Still, that motivating factor. I was reading earlier that you're not just talking about making a comeback to wrestling. You're talking about championships. You're talking about wanting to win the title here, there, over there, whatnot. You want gold. I mean, why is it so important, for you to finish this professional wrestling thing off, a certain way?
Well, I think I was shortchanged in the WWF. It was nobody's fault. It's just the way things happened. But I felt like, I want to go back and be able to put an exclamation point on my career, and that is to be able to go out. Not only what do I want to be the NWA or Impact first champion, but I also want to make sure that I'm going back and winning more championships, because I felt like I was there 2.5 years and I did some. At that amount of time I did a lot. But I want to go back and make sure that I solidify who Ken Shamrock was in the Attitude Era and come back in today's world and be able to show people that Ken Shamrock isn't going anywhere until people recognize me and respect me for what I've done in pro wrestling.
I sitting back and I was talking to Brad about you earlier, and we was talking about you and your bid, to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. You're already a Hall of Famer, and you know what I mean. It's
100%.
Yeah, I mean you're already a Hall of Famer. It doesn't seem like it should be something, but it seemed like to you, man, it's something that you really want. And I heard you talking about being the one guy that people should and could look at as being that first guy who pretty much brought MMA to the sport of professional wrestling at that level, because holds and stuff like that, of course they've been done before in professional wrestling, but when MMA came on the scene and Ken Shamrock being a part of that dynasty, that era of guys who really put this sport on the map, and then coming into the WWF at that time, now WWE, yeah. We say, man, Ken Shamrock really, he does have a case, as far as, getting into the Hall of Fame on that, merit alone, should, qualify you to be in the Hall of Fame. You know, what do you think it is? Why you think, people are kind of like overlooking, Ken Shamrock accomplishments as, that guy?
I don't know if they're overlooking me. I think that maybe it's just the timing. I think that there's a lot of guys that have obviously been in pro wrestling and have done a lot more time than I put into it. And so there's a lot of guys that I look at, say, yeah, he was there for 10 years or he was there for 8 years.
Yeah.
But if there's somebody that goes in before I do that had crossed over from MMA into pro wrestling or from pro wrestling into MMA, then I would probably be upset because I felt like, I was the first one to open that gate. And a lot of people think I went from MMA into pro wrestling, and it's the opposite of that. I went from pro wrestling into MMA because before I did MMA, I was Vince Torelli, and I carried the strap in South Atlantic Pro Wrestling, North Atlantic Pro Wrestling. I was over in New Japan with Baba's group, and I went under Vince Torelli, Mr. Wrestling. And then, of course, I got involved with Pancras, and then I became an MMA fighter, and then, of course, I went into pro wrestling. So a lot of people mistake me for being an MMA going into pro wrestling instead of being a pro wrestler going into MMA and then back into pro wrestling. So, but like I said, I think that at this point I'm not upset that I'm not in the Hall of Fame, but I would be upset if somebody like a Brock Lesnar or Ronda Rousey or somebody like that would go in before I did, since I believe that I was the one that really built that bridge.
Well, I mean, you were the one that built the bridge. You mean, you're Intercontinental Champion, King of the Ring. You were involved in one of the greatest WrestleMania matches. You're the referee, but you're still involved in this big WrestleMania moment with Bret Hart and Steve Austin. It's actually something I always wanted to ask Ken Shamrock because, Ken Shamrock back in the day when I was growing up as a fan, he was one of the coolest dudes. You're
still a fan.
I'm still a fan. Came out, you smack his head, on the ring steps. I love the music. Like, I almost got chills when Jerry played it coming into the ring.
The part I like was, get out of my way!
Yeah, right.
There's always a rumor going around, and I just want you to confirm it or deny it. The rumor was that you were supposed to wrestle Bret Hart at WrestleMania 14, the year after the submission match. Was that true?
Yeah, I know this, and I don't know the inside workings with the ownership, management, and Bret and all the things they had going on, but I know this for a fact, that Bret only wanted to drop the strap to me. He didn't want to drop it to anybody else but me, and he especially didn't want to drop it to Shawn Michaels. I have no problem with Shawn. I got along with Shawn. I know Bret and Shawn did not get along. But Bret Hart was the one that trained me. Bret Hart was the one that helped me understand psychology and who I was going to be going into pro wrestling. And so, I kind of hung out with the camp, right? I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. You have loyalty. Yeah. So when all that stuff happened, I know Bret said, hey, I'm going to set it up to where, I will drop the strap to you. And I was like very fortunate to hear that. I said, oh, great, cool. But obviously, there's different things that happened. A lot of problems started, screw job, all those things happen. And next thing you know, I'm doing jobs. So it's just like I said, wrestling's a weird thing. Sometimes you get pushed into a situation just because of the people you know. Or that you hang out with or affiliated with, and I think that's kind of what happened there. Was just I got kind of separated into the Hart Foundation or that group, which I did. That's who I was a part of. That was my people that I worked with that helped me through what I was going through. So it kind of sucked because I didn't know everything that was going on. I didn't realize that there was already a plan that Vince had in his mind that he was going to do. And so it just kind of like, I just kind of got, stuck in that situation, unfortunately. And I had to protect me at that time because they were starting to beat me every week. And so I had to come up with something to protect me and the Ken Shamrock brand that I built in the world of fighting.
Totally understandable. Sometimes you gotta be able to look out for yourself. And I've talked about that all the time. As far as the business go, if you don't speak up, and I got a rule, 100%, you speak up 100% of the time. When you're 99%, you keep your mouth shut. You know what I mean? When you've built a brand, sometimes you got to say, hey, let's take a step back, or let me rethink this. And so for you taking a step back is something that's totally understandable. Now we move to what you're doing now with Impact coming up this weekend, pretty much. I mean, Impact, man. I just did some stuff with Impact here in Houston. We call it what do we call it? Deep Impact. Deep Impact. And you're talking about
TNA.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Well, Impact TNA, formerly known as. Those guys, they got some awesome talent on their roster right now. I mean, those guys aren't they're perhaps not getting enough props as far as how good their roster really is right now, because so much stuff is going on in professional wrestling with AEW, WWE, NXT. But I give big pick props, to guys like Moose. That guy's mega talented. Cage, that guy, he's another guy that's got a lot of talent. And now you're stepping right in the fold. How cool is it to be back inside? But before you answer that question, we got to take a quick break. But I definitely want to know, what is the excitement like now, being a part of, professional wrestling all over again. And, I know it's got to be good. It might even be perfect. So stick around. We'll be back in the Hall of Fame in just one more minute. This kid Shamrock, guys, the world's most dangerous man. Back in a minute.